555 Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Wednesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. With Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. 24 hours away from the Sweet 16. In fact, less than that. By this time tomorrow night, Florida and Maryland will be underway. I believe Alabama and BYU will be underway. 4 games tomorrow, 4 games on Friday, and then the Elite Eight. 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday till we get to the Final Four, which is in San Antonio a week from Saturday. So certainly we're going to spend some time on the Florida Gators, really the rest of the Sweet 16 as well, but a primary focus on Florida tonight as they take on Maryland. I got a thought about Walter Clayton Jr., got a thought about Florida in general that I want to get to. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Blake Lovell of the Southeastern 16. Again, one of my new favorite podcasts that I discovered. Blake does a terrific job with that. We'll talk not only Florida, but the rest of the SEC teams that are in the Sweet 16, and there's a lot of them, with Blake Lovell of the Southeastern 16 podcast. He joins me coming up here in less than 20 minutes. Also, we won't get too far away from the NFL and the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are 29 days away, 4 weeks from tomorrow night, till the NFL draft in Green Bay. And there's all sorts of talk. Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter. Could one of those be sitting right there for Jacksonville at number 5? Ian Valentino of the 33rd team and A2ZSports.com. Ian's a very easy find on Twitter. At NFL Draft Study. How good is that, right? At NFL Draft Study is where you can find him on social media. We'll talk to Ian about the Jaguar free agent haul and about the outlook for them in the draft. That comes up towards the top of the 9 o'clock hour. We're glad you're with us on a Wednesday here on Hacker After Dark. We're with you like we always are until 10 o'clock. Every night here on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
24 hours away from the Florida Gators making their return to the Sweet 16 under head coach Todd Golden. You know, I think Gator fans got very, very spoiled there in the late 90s, but certainly the mid-2000s. Do you realize if you go back to 1987, that's 38 years. This is Florida's 12th appearance in the Sweet 16. That's not as many as you would have probably thought over the last 38 years. Number 12 in the last 38. It's their first one since 2017. And in fact, tonight is the 8-year anniversary of their loss to South Carolina in the Elite Eight at Madison Square Garden. So you got to go back 8 years to where Florida played on the second weekend of the NCAA tourney. And again, only the 12th time they've made it this far over the last 38 seasons. You know, they asked a question to us today on the 1010XL social media platform about Walter Clayton Jr. Would you put Walter Clayton Jr. in your Mount Rushmore right now of all-time Gator greats? Look, I don't remember Neil Walk, and I don't remember Vernon Maxwell in Gainesville. I'm 41 years old. That's before my time. So I would be talking out of turn if I could just say, oh, yeah, absolutely, I would put them on there because I didn't see them. Dwayne Shinsis either. I know about those guys, certainly, but I didn't see them. My Gator basketball fandom, if you will, goes back to 1994. That's really the first thing I remember. The Lon Kruger team where I was 10 and 11 years old. The team with Dan Cross and Craig Brown, Andrew DeClerc, Dimitri Hill, Marty Kuzma coming off the bench, right? The team that made it all the way to the Final Four. You then go to the 2000 team, and I want to get back to them in a moment. But then obviously the 05, the 06, the 07 run. Then they did it again in 14 where they did not lose a conference game the entire year. And then Chris Chiozza hit that shot in 17 to get him to the Elite Eight. They've had success. It's been few and far between in the last decade or so, but they have had success. And if Walter Clayton leads Florida to a national championship, if he leads Florida to 4 more wins, well then, yeah. I think at that point, of the guys I've seen, he would absolutely join the ranks of Joakim Noah, absolutely join the ranks of an Al Horford, Corey Brewer. Those are probably the 3 for me. After that, the Mike Millers, the Udonis Haslams of the world. Then down a little bit would be like a Chris Chiozza, Scotty Wilbekin, certainly good players. I just wouldn't have them on the Mount Rushmore. But I said I wanted to go back to the 2000 team. This Gator team in 2025 reminds me a lot of that 2000 team, the one that made the national title game, ultimately losing to Michigan State. Because they were good in 99 where they lost to Gonzaga because the slipper still fits, even though Casey Cavalry was massively over Brent Wright's back on that play in the Sweet 16. And the 94 find-away team was awesome with Lon Kruger, but that was a surprise, a huge surprise. It was in 2000 with Teddy Dupay, Mike Miller, Brent Wright, Justin Hamilton, Udonis Haslem, Matt Bonner, Donnell Harvey. Go on down the line, man. Major Parker. There were some dudes on that team. And they made it all the way to the national championship game. And it was at that point you thought, all right, Billy Donovan's got something cooking here. Billy Donovan's got something. And certainly over the next couple of years, they would have heartbreak in the NCAA tournament. But then the 05, 06 season, and certainly the 06, the 07 season, and now Billy Donovan's name is on that floor down in Gainesville. I don't necessarily believe Todd Golden will accomplish that. I hope he does, but that's lofty praise. But I do believe this 2025 team reminds me of that 2000 Gator team because I believe they got something cooking now. It will not be 8 years again before Florida reaches a Sweet 16. It will not be down times for the next couple of years, even with Will Richard, Walter Clayton, and Elijah Martin leaving as seniors. This Todd Golden 2025 Gator team in his 3rd year at Florida sort of, to me, feels like the Billy Donovan 2000 team. And what was Billy there? 96, 97, I think that was year 5 for Billy in 2000. This is year 3 for Todd Golden in 2025. You look at the depth. You look at the domination. You look at the big physical bodies they can throw out there, the three-point shooting, the recruiting. Obviously, the 2025 team has the transfer portal, something the 2000 team didn't. But I think like that 2000 team where you kind of knew that Billy Donovan was the guy and it cemented that, I think this 2025 team has cemented the fact that Todd Golden is the guy. And that Gator basketball, maybe not winning back-to-back titles, I'm not necessarily saying that, but I think Gator basketball is back in a major way, more so than they've certainly been in the last decade. This is the beginning of a run for Florida. Like that 2000 team was the beginning of a run for Billy Donovan's Gators. Certainly fun times, no doubt about that. Again, only 8 teams have won 3 or more NCAA tournaments on the men's side. Florida is looking to become team number 9. Again, those 8, UCLA, Kentucky, UConn, North Carolina, Duke, Indiana, Kansas, and Villanova. And that's it. Programs that have won 3 or more national championships. Florida could join that list with 4 more wins tomorrow night in Sweet 16 against Maryland. And look, like I told Baloo, I'm not breaking everything down here. I'm not Nostradamus. We have college basketball analysts that come on to do that for us. But I do know common sense. And what common sense tells you is that when a team scores 72 points in the second round to win a game at the buzzer like Maryland did, and 70 of those 72 were scored by their starting five, means they got a good starting five and they have nothing off the bench. When the bench minutes and the bench performance for Maryland ranks in the 300s of Division I college basketball, that means they have an unbelievable starting five, but again, they have nothing off the bench. And when Florida can throw out 9 legit guys tomorrow night, you just hope you wear them down. I firmly believe Florida wore down Missouri, Alabama, and Tennessee in the SEC tournament. I believe Florida kind of wore down UConn on Sunday. And that is my expectation tomorrow night. It would not surprise me if Maryland leads the game in the first half. Would not surprise me if Maryland leads the game at halftime. Heck, I don't know if I'd be that surprised if Maryland's winning the game with 10 minutes to go like UConn did. But basically, it's going to be 9-on-5 tomorrow night. And I just think Florida has too many bodies. And if they play like they're supposed to, and maybe, I don't know, make a free throw, it's a novel concept, I think Florida will wear down Maryland. I expect Florida to win the game. I'll tell you this, I really hope Arkansas beats Texas Tech, because I do believe Texas Tech potentially could be a problem for the Gators in the Elite Eight. So assuming Florida wins tomorrow night, I'll be pulling hard for John Calipari and the Razorbacks. But give me the Gators. Again, we'll be on the air tomorrow night on 92.5 FM. The Gator game will be on 10:10 a.m., so we'll be able to react to it basically in real time, which will be fun and nice. We'll certainly do a regular show, but make no mistake about it, we're going to be focusing a lot on what's going on in San Francisco as it's going on during the program. But the game will have already tipped off the next time we start our show 24 hours from now. So give me Florida. I don't think it's a rout. I think it's very similar to the UConn game. But Denmark, I just believe Florida will wear down Maryland. And if Maryland gets into any sort of foul trouble tomorrow, they are cooked.
Yeah, I mostly agree with you. The line's been at 6 to 7, depending on where you shop. It moved a little bit around today on a Hard Rock, which was kind of interesting. But I just think Florida's too good, and they got – I think everything they saw from UConn is, they have the best coach maybe in the tournament with Hurley, and UConn played them very physical all around, and I think they survived their scare. And I think Florida wins by at least 10 tomorrow.
I would love it. I would love to not have a nail-biter, no doubt about that. And look, both teams probably feel that they're pretty fortunate to be here. Again, if you're objective, UConn outplayed Florida for a majority of that game on Sunday. But again, Florida just wore them down, made too many plays, had too many bodies late in the game. Maryland was done. They were done. And then Derek Queen, their freshman all-world player, hit a buzzer beater off the bank to knock out Colorado State. So both teams probably feel like a new lease on life, which is an interesting dynamic. Again, you got both teams that had to travel thousands of miles to the West Coast. Could you get two more East Coast teams than Maryland and Florida that had to go out to San Francisco? I don't think either one of them is necessarily going to have a big home court advantage out there. But I think it's going to be fun. Two really good nights of basketball, man. These Sweet 16 games, Kentucky, Tennessee will be outstanding. Auburn, Michigan, Alabama, BYU, Ole Miss, Michigan State, Duke, Arizona. Houston, the 1 seed, playing basically a road game in Indianapolis against the 4 seed Purdue. Good stuff, man. I know Cinderella's not made it this far. I know that we're talking about the lack of mid-majors, but now that the guts are here and tip-off is tomorrow night, there's 16 really good teams left that are trying to win this national championship. And it is going to be fun to see how it all plays out. Again, you'll hear Florida and Maryland, 10:10 a.m. tomorrow night. We will be on the FM breaking it down in real time, and we certainly hope that you join us tomorrow night. Let's talk about Florida, and let's talk about the SEC teams that are still alive. Blake Lovell is the host of the Southeastern 16 podcast, and he joins me next. It is a Wednesday evening here in Jacksonville, Florida, and we're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
The team that loves the team you love.
They came together as a team.
1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Warm weather means the beach, fishing, golf, and more. Make sure to drop into Daly's and grab a cold case to go. From Bud Light to their seltzer, from Mick Ultra to Modelo, or your favorite crafts like Old City or Sweetwater. Grab and go at your local Daly's.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic!
You're what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow. I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but...
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Welcome to AT&T. How can I help?
Hey, I thought I could trust my twins with my phone, but they outnumber me, man.
Oh, that's a lot of glitter paint. Let's trade
Lives?
At AT&T, everyone can trade in an old or glittered iPhone, any year, any condition, and save on a new iPhone. Ask how to get iPhone 16 Pro on us. New and existing customers. Savings vary by device and trade-in combinations. Restrictions apply. See att.com for details. AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you can't miss, that's Pella Windows and Doors.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish. And he's listening to the Nimnicht Outdoors Show with
tips and stories.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Every Saturday morning, 7 to 10.
On 1010XL.
Guys, your lawn's the home field. Now you can champion your St. Augustine grass. TopDressing.com just hit Jacksonville with a game-changing patented process. Aerate and transform your turf into a fairway-worthy masterpiece. Less water, shorter cuts, and the envy of every neighbor. No one else delivers a perfect 10 lawn like this. Visit TopDressing.com and dominate your block with the same process that golf courses use. Top dress your lawn like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When pests invade your home or business, you don't just need them out. You need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, they'll show up for you and eliminate pests quicker, just like they did at my house, because they care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a pest problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's Terminix.com. That's right, Terminix it.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold and silver and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at almost $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar or trade it in for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. Are you tired of wrestling with your old shower curtain? Then say goodbye to the curtain chaos and hello to a new frameless shower enclosure. Wago Glass is clear, classy, and won't stick to you like a toddler at bedtime. Plus, it makes your bathroom look bigger and brighter. Upgrade your shower experience and step into style. Call me at Baker Glass and get ready to love your new glass shower enclosure. Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Your
hole-in-one for men's health is Ackerman Urology. With offices in Mandarin, Middleburg, Rural Golf Village, and the beaches, Ackerman will get you on par for any prostate conditions and sexual vitality. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
Mia here, and let me tell you about one of our area's best resorts, the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa. The Sawgrass Marriott is not only a great destination for a vacation, but it is also a great destination for dining on the Florida's first coast. 1912 Ocean Bar and Rooftop is now open on Ponte Vedra Boulevard, featuring Ponte Vedra's only oceanfront rooftop bar and lounge. Serving finely crafted cocktails and delectable eats, it's open daily from 4 to 10 with complimentary valet parking.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Florida and Maryland in the Sweet 16 Thursday night. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. Florida is one of 7 SEC teams remaining in the Sweet 16, and the SEC has set a new record for one conference, the number of teams that have lasted now to the Sweet 16. Let's talk about the Southeastern Conference and how they've done to this point with Blake Lovell. He is the host of the Southeastern 16 podcast, and Blake is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Blake, how you doing, man?
Well, Ryan, like you said, exciting time for the SEC here in the NCAA tournament, and man, it's kind of something to think. There were years ago we're looking at like, hey, the SEC only got less than 7 teams into the entire tournament. Now they've got 7 in the Sweet 16. It's pretty wild. So
it is very wild. And look, Blake, you and I spoke last week when 14 teams made it. Did you think half of those 14 would last through opening weekend?
I said I thought the magic number for the SEC would be 6 in the Sweet 16. I said if you get 6, to me, I'm like, hey, well, you can't ask for a lot more than that, especially when you knew some of the first-round matchups. The SEC, the underdog teams, lost for the most part. I mean, Arkansas has obviously been the one that's made the run here. But, other than Missouri getting upset in round 1, Arkansas pulls off a couple of upsets on their own. It kind of evens out in that regard. So it's like we really shouldn't have been expecting the SEC to get a lot more teams than this to this point. And so I think actually they overachieved, in getting this many teams here. Of course, that broke the NCAA tournament record for having 7 from one conference in the Sweet 16. So it always felt like you had to keep your top teams in there, like Florida and Auburn and Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, and all that. And so, mission accomplished on that, but to have a couple more, Ole Miss making a nice run, and of course, Arkansas as the Cinderella, which is, again, kind of an interesting thing to think about. John Calipari as Cinderella in March, but yeah, that's where we are. So
I got kind of a kick because in round 1, a lot of the national media were talking about overrated and this, that, and the other, and those people were awfully quiet on Saturday and Sunday when the SEC went 7-1 in the round of 32. Blake, let's start with Florida, obviously, in our parts. Look, UConn outplayed them, I think, for 90% of that game. That is a game that Florida loses 99% of the time in the last decade. Yet Walter Clayton, Elijah Martin, and Will Richard basically took the game over with 3 minutes to go, and somehow, some way, Florida found a way out of there to beat the back-to-back national champions.
Yeah, they did. And I think, again, I think we talked about it before. It's like, really, the only thing statistically you can pick apart with Florida is the free throw shooting. And I kept thinking, oh, no, please don't let that be the one thing that's going to come back to get them not in round 2. And, we talked about just really the whole mentality of that game. It's just very rare scenario where you have the defending back-to-back national champions coming in as the 8th seed with no pressure on them. And meanwhile, all that pressure is flipped to the other team that's the 1 seed that people have kind of compared to UConn and said, all right, Florida looks like a team that's just kind of rolling through things. Maybe they're the next UConn, or maybe it's the next Florida back-to-back national champions. All these different storylines that we talked about going to that game. And I think I said when the bracket came out and we saw that potential matchup, I'm like, it would not surprise me if UConn winds up being the toughest game that Florida plays all the way to the Final Four. And I think when you look at the potential remaining matchups, I think that could still be the case with them because, when it comes to Maryland and all that, I feel like it is one where it's a solid enough matchup for Florida. But just to be able to respond the way they did and finish off that game against UConn, despite facing a little adversity, I thought that told us a lot about this team because, as you know, Ryan, we've seen Florida have some games this season where They lose at Kentucky, lose to Missouri at home, lose at Tennessee, lose at Georgia. What have they done the next game? They've always come out and had just tremendous performances. Beat Tennessee by 30, beat Texas by 24, beat Vanderbilt by double digits, then beat Texas A&M, by almost 20. That's what they do well. So I feel like even in a win, you didn't lose the game against UConn, but I think they may come out and respond in a big way here this next round.
Blake Lovell, the host of the Southeastern 16 podcast, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Blake, the Maryland Terrapins, I'm learning about them as the days go by. And look, a terrific starting five. Obviously, Derek Queen with that shot that beat Colorado State at the buzzer on Sunday. Yet Maryland apparently has basically no bench whatsoever. They got 5 really good starters, and that is essentially it. And I don't think I'm really saying anything out of line there.
No, there's always some of these matchups in sports, period, where you go all in on one tiny statistic where it's just like, I think that's how this game's going to be won. And sometimes you have to dive pretty deep into all these things, and it makes sense. But for me, I'm like, am I missing something where I don't look at this game and say, Maryland plays 5 guys, and you're telling me they're going up against one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country, and think about all the potential for over-the-back fouls, physicality within that 2-foot range of the rim that you could have for Maryland. Even though their big guys have done a good job of staying out of foul trouble this year. Something else I looked up. They've not seen a team like Florida in terms of the rebounding potential, especially on the offensive glass. I think Michigan State and Illinois were both like in the top 25-ish in terms of offensive rebounding percentage. For reference, Florida's 5th. They're top 25-ish. The next team in the Big Ten is Michigan, sub 75 in the country in that category. They've just not seen a team like this that is so relentless on the glass the way that Florida is. And to me, I'm like, there is your opportunity for fouls. And again, even though Maryland's been a team with their bigs have not, fouled out of a lot of games and all this other stuff, I just think it's the opponent. It's the opponent and what they do well. And to me, if Florida does what they usually do, and that is attack the glass, and you've got all 5 Maryland guys trying to find anybody to box out or keep them off the, the offensive boards, you're going to inevitably have some fouls in there. So to me, this game plan is very simple for Todd Golden. It is attack, attack, attack. And if they do that, I think that Florida has a chance to not only win this game, but potentially win this game going away.
Florida, Maryland, and then, of course, Arkansas, Texas Tech. Who do you like between the Razorbacks and the Red Raiders?
Yeah, flip a coin here when it comes to maybe what you think you're going to get from Arkansas, because I think that's the biggest question here. The potential for a Duthero to come back. It would really feel like the first time this season that Arkansas has had their full assortment of players, completely healthy. I mean, that's wild to say for a team that's in the Sweet 16 in game 30-something, but that's kind of where we are with Arkansas. So if they get him back, that's a big one. But Texas Tech could also get McMillan back, who's one of their best players. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, there's a lot of variables here that are unknown when it comes to who's actually going to be playing, and I think that makes a big difference. But I will also say, too, even though I think there is something to riding the hot hand with Arkansas, this is a much different matchup than what they had against Kansas and St. John's. Those two teams were very sporadic offensively. You didn't always know what you were going to get from them two. Texas Tech, you know exactly what you're getting. They're a top 5 offensive team in the country. They shoot the 3 very, very well. And to me, we always say, what kind of stretch of the game defines it? Maybe for certain teams, it's the final 8 minutes, making comebacks, all this other stuff. But to me, the first 8 minutes here defines this game, because if Arkansas comes out early and they get in a double-digit type hole, Texas Tech gets 3 or 4 threes, Arkansas is not the kind of team to play their way back, I think, from a double-digit type deficit. They just don't shoot the ball well enough. So to me, they've got to lock in on defense, which they've done pretty well. But I think this is a much tougher matchup in terms of the offensive capability of the opponent.
A couple of more for Blake Lovell, host of the Southeastern 16 podcast. Blake, we have a rematch, a third round, if you will, between Tennessee and Kentucky. Kentucky has won the first 2. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. Who do you like between the Volunteers and the Wildcats?
Yeah, it is another one that's so fascinating, isn't it? Because Kentucky, in 2 games this season against Tennessee, shot 12 of 24 from 3 each time. So they're 24 of 48 from 3 against the number 3 3-point defensive team in the country in Tennessee. Opponents usually only shoot 28.3%. So Kentucky's shooting 50% on 48 attempts. You've got to feel like the probabilities aren't exactly in Kentucky's favor to shoot that exact same percentage again. If that doesn't happen, then what happens, right? Well, it's all about what Tennessee does offensively, because I think the Vols still have some of those stretches, 3 or 4 minutes where they struggle to score. And they're going to try to do that against a Kentucky team that, if you do kind of the advanced metrics and filter it out and everything, Kentucky's been pretty much a top 10 defensive team in the country over the past month and a half. So they have gotten so much better on that side of the court. I'm not going to lie to you. Right now, I'm leaning towards Kentucky because I just think that they have the more proven offensive elements in this game in terms of the consistency. But I also think that even though they're not Tennessee defensively, they have gotten so much better there. And because they're playing like a top 10 defensive team and may have just had their overall one of their best, defensive performances the entire season against Illinois, I think the Cats also having that full assortment of players now could make a big difference. So I may right now lean towards Kentucky, but of course that may be subject to change as we look at more of these, kind of dynamics between these two teams before Friday.
Well, that would be wild if Kentucky were to win all 3 meetings with Tennessee and knock them out in the Sweet 16. Blake, as we begin to wrap up in the state of Alabama, who has more to worry about, Auburn versus Michigan or Alabama versus BYU?
I think it's Alabama. I think BYU, we talk about ways to beat a team. I mean, if you're going to beat Alabama, you've either got to do what Ole Miss did, and that's completely shut them down, force 20-something turnovers, which has been the complete outlier this season, or you've got to go out and outscore them. And we've seen some teams go out and outscore Alabama. Auburn did it. Missouri did it. Florida's done it a couple times. I think that's the key. And, BYU has the offensive capabilities to go out and outscore Alabama. Top 10 offensive team, shoot the ball so well from 3, top 30 there in terms of the percentages. They get 39% of their points from 3. That's top 20 in the country. So if BYU comes out, they're getting the shots they want. They're going to be able to keep up with Alabama. And so to me, I think that's a more dangerous matchup because you're going to have a lot more points on the board. Whereas I feel like in that Auburn-Michigan game, wouldn't be surprised if that's a bit of a grind for those two teams. A lot of those battles, probably on the glass, in the paint, with the big guys for both sides. But I do feel like with this Alabama-BYU game, I feel like it's one where because both teams have shown this season they are capable of putting up points in a hurry, I think you've got a lot of possibilities in terms of the outcome here just because, you're going to have some of that streakiness with both these teams.
Blake, we got 60 seconds. Ole Miss has been very good in their first 2 games over North Carolina and Iowa State. It's a different monster, though, against Michigan State, is it not?
Yeah, it's a tougher matchup. I think stylistically it still works for Ole Miss here because of their ability to kind of take care of the ball, force some turnovers. I think that's still going to be the thing if they win it, that they can use that to their advantage with sort of the experience. And they are the more experienced team here. They're the most experienced team left in the field. So I think Ole Miss can still lean on that. But, man, Michigan State, being able to kind of grind their way through the Big Ten this season, you look at the ways they can beat you. It's just there's a variety of ways they can get after you, especially on the defensive end. I think it's going to make it hard on Ole Miss from an offensive standpoint. And it does feel like it's more of a tougher matchup. Even if the styles are similar, it's a tougher matchup for Ole Miss here against Michigan State.
Blake, leave us with this. 7 SEC teams in the Sweet 16. How many are going to San Antonio to the Final Four?
I'm going to stay maybe on the pessimistic side for some people, and I'm going to stick with the number I had maybe initially, and that's 2, because I think right now, Ryan, I find it hard to see these top seeds losing on the way. I just think these top 4 teams are built differently, and, sure, it could happen as soon as the Sweet 16, but I'm going to keep banking on these top 4 teams, Florida, Auburn, Houston, and Duke, to make their way there. So I'll stick with 2 for the Final Four.
Blake, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the Southeastern 16 and where they can find it.
Yep, you can check it out, Southeastern 16 on YouTube. We'll have all of our game previews for the Sweet 16 games for the SEC, live reaction afterwards as well. So, yeah, find us on YouTube, Southeastern 16.
Blake Lovell, the Southeastern 16 podcast. Blake, terrific stuff, man. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, Ryan. Always enjoy it.
There you go. Blake Lovell, the Southeastern 16 podcast. Certainly appreciate him taking time out for us here on Hacker After Dark. And look, 7 teams. Boy, if only 2 go to the Final Four, and I think he might be right, would that be somewhat of a disappointment? I don't know. I mean, obviously only 4 can get there, right? And I'm good at math. Only 4 can make the Final Four. And I guess if half of those teams are from the SEC, that's good. But when you have 7 still alive in a 16-team field, boy, wouldn't it be something if the SEC could get 3 teams? And, quickly, because I want to do a couple other things here. But while we're on the Gator-Maryland game, I was looking at Maryland's stats, and again, maybe I'm too much of a numbers guy, too much of a fantasy geek or whatever. But I talked earlier about the 5 Maryland starters being very good and the fact that they basically have nothing coming off the bench. All right, well, look at the numbers. The 5 Maryland starters all average double figures, led by Derek Queen, the freshman who won the game at the buzzer last week. He's a 16.9 rebound a game guy. Jacoby Gillespie's their best guard, 6'1", 14 points, 5 assists. The other 3 starters are also very good. All 5 average double figures. The leading scorer off the Maryland bench averages 3 points a game. 3 points a game. They got a couple of guys that average 2 points a game, and then you get down into the 1.9, 1.7 realm. They just don't have any scoring off their bench. It's their 5 starters, and that's it. Again, 72 points against Colorado State. The starters scored 70. If you look at bench minutes and bench production, they got the analytics to figure all this stuff out. Maryland is in the 300s in Division I basketball. Now, starter for starter, the 5 Terrapins against the 5 Gators on the floor to begin the game tomorrow night? Well, heck, it's a 50-50 battle, right? I mean, I don't even know if Maryland might even be a tad better. I don't think all 5 Gator starters average double figures because they don't need to. Because you have Thomas Houck and Denzel Aberdeen and Micah Handlockton and Klobuchar and all these cats that can come in. Give their guys rest. Give those guys fouls if they need it, right? Wear other teams down. It's essentially going to be 9-on-5 tomorrow. And I'm not guaranteeing Florida victory because goodness knows crazy things happen in the tournament. But holy moly, if Maryland gets in any sort of foul trouble tomorrow night, the game's over. They have 2 guys that their 2 bigs are very good. One of them's Derek Queen. Their 3rd big averages 3 points and less than 1 rebound per game. That's insane. So we'll see. But I got to tell you, man, the more I think about this, the more I like Florida. The more I like Florida. Those Maryland starters are good. Heck, they might be great. But can 5 great players beat 9 really good players? I don't know. I think I'd take the quantity over the quality in that regard. More on college hoops coming up later on in the 9 o'clock hour. Coming up next, did you see Pat McAfee earlier today? He had about an hour sit down with LeBron James. I thought it was absolutely fascinating. And I now have a much different opinion of LeBron than I did before that interview. We'll talk about it next on Hacker After Dark.
Put some paint on your quarter panel.
All the way up against the well, they're still 3.
This Sunday at Martinsville.
They both spin out.
NASCAR is tuned up by Maxie's Mechanics on 1010 XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and there's so many cool products that are on the line at Cycles of Jacksonville. Showroom is Atlantic and Regency, and we're talking, Greg, you've got from any level of price point, the experienced rider to the inexperienced on-road, off-road.
We've got it. We've got ATVs. We've got motorcycles. We've got scooters. We even have the new Honda boats. We've got something for everyone.
Don't forget about the boat line from Honda. It's all right there, waiting for you. Atlantic and Regency or Cycles of Jacksonville's Facebook page.
Get more Gators on the Gator Bites podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with new episodes every Friday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL's Gator Bites podcast wherever you find podcasts and at 1010XL.com.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
Pick it here for Bound 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bound 9. Visit Bound 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bound 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you become more active, reach your weight loss goals, and find your inner strength. Membership at the Y includes state-of-the-art facilities, a huge variety of fitness classes, and programs for all ages. It's easy to join the Y since it's affordable for all incomes. The Y is a great place to make connections and experience something new. Visit the YMCA near you or online at fcymca.org.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
At Performance Painting, we've spent decades protecting commercial properties with durable, long-lasting coatings. And we can bring the same expertise when painting the exterior of your home. With industry-leading materials and a proven process, we extend the life of your home, reducing maintenance costs and preserving its value. Now, for a limited time, save $500 when you hire us to paint your home's exterior. Just mention 1010XL. Go to performance-painting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
St. Johns County parents, does your kid have energy to burn? Want them to play a sport for their middle school? Sign up today for the St. John's Middle School Athletic Association. Spring pickleball, tackle football, dance, and cheerleading. Who doesn't want their kid to be the next NFL quarterback or dance floor diva? Hurry, time is running out. March is almost over. You know how fast your kid can go from playing Xbox to practicing their touchdown dance or sideline cheer? Sign up at sjmsaa.org. sjmsaa.org.
Pick in here, beat the spring cleaning rush, and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get one room Zero Resified starting at $53. Take $100 off your air duct cleaning. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com and tell them 1010XL sent you.
Zero Res.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Glad you're with us on a Wednesday. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Coming up in less than 20 minutes, Ian Valentino of the 33rd team, also A2ZSports.com. You can follow Ian on Twitter at NFL Draft Study. Ian just put out a brand new 7-round mock draft. Well, you do 7-round mocks. That's getting after it for every team. And we'll talk to Ian not only about the Jaguar offseason to this point, but how that could potentially factor in. I'll tell you this, the 7-round mock draft that he did, if it falls that way for Jacksonville, I think he'd be very, very happy. There were a lot of really interesting picks, but we'll talk about Mason Graham. We'll talk about Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, the chances that one of those three will be there at number 5. What about Will Campbell? What about Ted McMillan? We'll kind of do a deep dive where the Jaguars are, not only at 5, but on the draft class as a whole, with Ian Valentino, again, the 33rd team, and A to Z Sports.com. He joins us coming up in less than 20 minutes. So I'm watching Pat McAfee earlier today. I wasn't watching it. I just happened to have it on because ESPN is basically always on in my house. And I had no idea that he had done a sit-down yesterday with LeBron James. But then he started promoting it, and then they aired it. They recorded it yesterday, and they aired it today. And LeBron was in studio with McAfee for, golly, almost an hour, like 45, 50 minutes, just basically talking about anything. It was like a no-holds-barred interview. Of course, McAfee and his guys are very, very good at those settings. And to LeBron's credit, he talked about anything they wanted to. He talked about his altercation with Stephen A. Smith. He talked about the whole Bronny James situation. Did he force the Lakers' hand? He talked about his relationship with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I mean, he talked about his relationship or lack thereof with certain members of the media. And there were a couple of things I didn't like that LeBron said, but by and large, I've never been a LeBron James guy. And I think a lot of that has to do with him going to Miami. I'm being an Orlando Magic fan. I have a deep rooted dislike for the Miami Heat anyway, just because I believe most of their fans are bandwagon fans, and most of them only like the Heat when they're good. And obviously when LeBron and Bosh went down there to form the Big Three, there were all of a sudden Miami Heat fans everywhere in Jacksonville, Florida. Oh, Miami Heat this and Miami Heat that. Yet none of those people could tell you who Eddie Jones was. None of those people could tell you who Tim Hardaway was. They couldn't tell you who Glenn Rice was or Ronnie Cycli. They had absolutely no idea because they weren't Miami Heat fans. They were bandwagon Miami Heat fans because LeBron James and Chris Bosh went down there and they won a couple of titles. And LeBron just rubbed me the wrong way when he was in Miami. Boy, one of the best wins of my sports fandom was when Orlando knocked LeBron out when he was in Cleveland in 2009, even before he went to Miami. That just tickled me to no end. I'll never forget, I was the producer back then, I believe, with Frangie. And I told him, I actually said, Orlando's going to win this series in 6. And a lot of callers and people back then, this is 16 years ago. A lot of people were like, oh, Hacker, you got your Magic goggles on. You're an idiot, this, that, or the other. The Magic won that series in 6. It was beautiful to knock LeBron James out. And then he goes to Miami and made a lot of people the bandwagon Heat fans that they are, and I had to deal with that for 4 years. It just sucked. Being an Orlando fan, having to deal with obnoxious people that called themselves Miami fans. But regardless. And then LeBron goes back to Cleveland and he wins a title, and that's great. But then he goes to L.A., and I've never really liked LeBron. I was never really a Michael Jordan guy either. I think of the three, I was more a Kobe Bryant fan because I just thought Kobe, on the court anyway, I just liked the way he played. I liked his tenacity. I liked him as a person. Michael just beat me every time when I was, with Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway, and Michael would rip your heart out when you were an Orlando Magic fan, except, of course, for 1995. Denmark, that's a good trivia question. The only team that beat a Michael Jordan Bulls team in a playoff series that Michael Jordan was a player on was the 95 Orlando Magic, dating back to when they started winning their titles. They won titles in 91, 92, 93. Jordan left. They lost to the Knicks, but Jordan wasn't there in 94. They won titles in 96, 97, and 98, but Jordan came back towards the end of 95, played the Magic in the Eastern Conference semis, and Orlando knocked Michael Jordan out. The only team to do that during that 91 to 98 run for Jordan and the Bulls. But that's a side note. back to the point of LeBron's interview today. I don't know if 1 hour-long interview can completely change your opinion on somebody, but I just appreciated LeBron James being as honest and as open as he was. You know what it was almost like, Denmark? It was the I don't give a moment for LeBron James. He's 40 years old. He's one of the best players in the world still. He's one of the richest athletes on planet Earth. Not much can touch this guy. His son is his teammate in L.A. He is living the flippin' dream. And I just think he's tired of the BS, and he's tired of being PC, and when it comes to sports anyway, and he's just going to say what he thinks. And I don't know how much of the McAfee interview you watched, but, man, he just basically laid into some people on live television, and I almost appreciate the fact that he was willing to do that.
Yeah, I don't know why he did it on a McAfee show. Like, that's my whole – I have so many questions why he even did this. He has his own podcast thing that he does. I think it's called The Barbershop. I've seen some clips on Twitter of what he said, but I have so many questions on why he did it. You know, what was the reason for it? I know that like the Lakers are playing in Indiana right now.
There were probably a lot of dollar signs.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, but I mean, he has them dollar signs from other, elsewhere, from other media companies.
Well, I mean, athletes. I mean, Pat McAfee. Athletes flock to him. McAfee gets unbelievable guests, and I don't know if it's a Pat McAfee himself. You know what it might be, honestly, at least some of it. McAfee and Stephen A. Smith aren't real fond of each other. So I think LeBron, if nothing else, just wanted to go on there and voice his displeasure once again with Stephen A. Smith, which he did in the Pat McAfee interview. And I'm curious if you're ESPN, I mean, LeBron kind of laid into Stephen A. Smith, and LeBron kind of laid into Brian Windhorst a little bit. That's the one thing I really didn't care for. LeBron was, flying 4, 7, and 10-letter words. I thought my TV was messed up because I watched ESPN. I'll have to go back and watch the YouTube version because they had to knock some of the stuff out. They played the interview in its entirety, but apparently LeBron was letting them fly. And when there are a couple of words that even McAfee's show can't get away with on ESPN, so they had to dub those out. But the one thing he said about Brian Windhorst was, I'm paraphrasing here, but he essentially said, LeBron did, yeah, I saw Brian Windhorst say that he's like my blanking best friend. The guys are weird, man. Look, I don't know if Brian Windhorst ever proclaimed to be LeBron's best friend. He's covered him longer than anybody. I don't know if you need to take a shot at Brian Windhorst, but LeBron certainly went after Stephen A. Smith. And it's a never-ending cycle, Denmark, because now tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on first day, guess what Stephen A. Smith is going to do?
Oh, he's already addressed it on his podcast.
And he certainly will again tomorrow morning, and it's just a back and forth. But again, I was never a LeBron fan, and I don't know if this completely swayed me on that. LeBron's done a lot of things that I don't disagree with, both on the court and off. But I did find it pretty refreshing that he addressed a lot of things. He talked about the Bronny angle and did he force the Lakers' hand. He talked about his relationship with Michael Jordan. He did talk about Stephen A. Smith. He talked about his production company. He talked about how much longer he's going to do this. He talked about being a father and what a cool moment it was to meet Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. on the night that Bronny debuted for the Lakers on his team. Again, if you didn't see it, I don't mean to be a shill for the Pat McAfee show, but it was fascinating. And it was like 45 minutes that he just sat there and just answered question after question after question. And it did sway my opinion a little bit. Maybe not entirely, but at least a little bit on my thoughts on LeBron James. More to do. We're at halftime here on Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We will take you up until 10 o'clock. Back into the National Football League. Back into the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are 4 weeks away from the NFL Draft. Ian Valentino, you can follow him on Twitter at NFL Draft Study. He released a brand new 7-round mock draft for the 33rd team. We're going to talk Jacksonville's offseason, what it's meant for Jacksonville's draft plan, and about this draft class as a whole. Jaguar fans, I think you'll find this somewhat interesting, what Ian Valentino has to say. Of NFL Draft Study and the 33rd team, he joins me next. Wednesday night, Hacker After Dark. Glad you're with us. It's 1010XL, and it's 92.5 FM.
Hi there, I'm Steve Spurrier on 10XL 92.5 FM.
1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like those clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here. 3 more new customer requests just came in. Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Call 904-500-COOL. Ideal Conditions.
Ideal Conditions Heating and Air Conditioning is your go-to for all AC repairs and replacements. Just gas your AC. For exceptional service, call 904-500-COOL or visit idealconditionsjacks.com to schedule your estimate today.
Call 904-500-COOL.
Honk if you see us. Call for service.
Ideal Conditions.
Idealconditionsjacks.com.
Hello, sports fans. Hicken here. Let's talk skin. I Am Beaches Dermatology are reminding you to wear your sunscreen. If you're an active parent hanging at the fields, in your boat to fish, or like to chill at the sandbar, wear sunscreen. But if you're the one that decided for years it's not cool, guess what? Cancer isn't cool either. So when grabbing the clubs for your tea time, gassing up the boat, or grabbing the chairs for your kids' games, make sure you bring the screen. Any concerns now? Give Beaches Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
New and pre-owned firearms are always in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimbar, Smith & Wesson, Sig Sauer, and Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Hey, it's Angela and Brian Wall. How many companies do you know in this day and age that actually want their potential customers to call their competition and get quotes from them?
That's what WonderWorld wants you to do. WonderWorld knows there are other window companies out there, but we also know those other guys. When compared to WonderWorld, they can't offer you the quality at the price that WonderWorld can.
And with WonderWorld, you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement business.
If anything goes wrong with your new WonderWorld windows, 5 years from now, 10, 15, 50, WonderWorld and I will be there to fix it for you. You get peace of mind with WonderWorld, and to top it off, WonderWorld windows increase the value of your home. So look what you get with WonderWorld. Quality windows, low price, the best guarantee in the business, energy savings, and an increase in the value of your home. A win-win for you.
Call WonderWorld today and get your free in-home estimate or see them online at windowworldneflorida.com.
WindowWorld, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Mia here, and let me tell you about one of our area's best resorts, the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa. The Sawgrass Marriott is not only a great destination for a vacation, but it is also a great destination for dining on the Florida's first coast. 1912 Ocean Bar and Rooftop is now open on Ponte Vedra Boulevard, featuring Ponte Vedra's only oceanfront rooftop bar and lounge. Serving finely crafted cocktails and delectable eats, it's open daily from 4 to 10 with complimentary valet parking.
Every morning that you wake up in a pest-free home is a good morning. And with Florida Pest Control's Pest-Free 365 service, you can. It's more than just a pest control or preventative maintenance plan. It's Florida Pest Control's promise that we'll be there providing pest-free living for your family all year long. And right now, our initial pest service is just $99. To learn more about our Pest-Free 365 service and to schedule your $99 initial pest service, visit flapest.com today.
For the greenest, luscious lawn on the block, choose the local legends, Roundtree Sod. Don't just settle for ordinary. Let Roundtree Sod deliver you a picture-perfect lawn. To get a free estimate, call 7414-SOD. 7414-SOD.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Well, you look on that sports calendar, we're all of a sudden inside of a month away from the NFL draft. Of course, the Jaguars have 10 picks in the draft, 6 in the top 125, including that number 5 overall selection. Let's talk about the Jaguars. Let's talk about the rest of how the NFL draft first round looks like it's shaping up with Ian Valentino of A to Z Sports.com. He's also a part of the 33rd team, and Ian's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Ian, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Ian, we always appreciate it. Know it's a busy time of year for you. And look, you and I haven't spoke since free agency, and certainly it was a very active free agency here in Jacksonville. From what you do, Ian, covering the draft, putting these mock drafts out pretty consistently, how does free agency kind of change the game for you guys in mid-March?
It's a major factor. You know, I think at this point, you almost have to throw out a lot of what you've done before, because you look at a team like Jacksonville who has gone out and aggressively plugged holes, and you look at their roster and you say, okay, I mean, there's areas that maybe you could upgrade, but this is no longer a roster where you're looking at 3 or 4 positions that you could justify with the top 5 pick, just from a needs perspective. Like, you want to enter the draft needing talent, not necessarily needing to plug specific holes. And I think Jacksonville and some of these other teams that were a little bit more aggressive in free agency, those teams came into a plan to say, when we hit the draft, if we find the best available player at our spot, we want to be able to take them without blinking. I don't want to have to force a pick where a guy that I have graded much, much lower has to be the selection here. So in a way, it's redefining what we thought we knew. And I think that we're kind of seeing this with mock drafts now, where you're trying to plug guys into certain spots because you've been putting them there for 3 months, or because you really like that player. But you can't do that. You can't afford to do that, because when we get to draft night, things are going to go haywire very quickly if we hold our expectations to what we thought we knew back in January.
I think it's a great point with Jacksonville in particular, where they brought in 10 outside free agents. They didn't bring in exactly all pro caliber talent, but I agree with you. What they did was plug holes to the point where it may literally be best available player for the Jaguars picks, at least in the few first round, second round, third round, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at the weaknesses that they might have. Those aren't generally going to be top 5 pick range, selections, like interior offensive line. Well, I don't think there's a guy in this draft class that you're going to say is worth that pick at that position. Like there's no Zach Martin in this draft. So, okay. Defensive tackle is a spot that maybe you could say is weaker. Well, you may have the opportunity to get the best defensive tackle in the class, or you could rely on the depth of the class. So I think that the way that they did it too is very telling to me. I think they could have signed a veteran defensive tackle that maybe shored up that position a little bit more, but they opted not to. They went for positions that aren't quite as deep in this draft class, like cornerback, even a safety, and Eric Murray getting a veteran, wide receiver, It's not a great wide receiver class. So if you don't want to take one at number 5 after you took BTJ in the first round last year, which makes a lot of sense. Well, okay, now Diami Brown is in place, and then you're going to bank on one of these young guys like Parker Washington to step up. So I think that their strategy was calculated, and it was even beyond. I think the way that they accounted for their own draft range and the guys that they should expect to be there at 5 is actually pretty impressive. You can't always do that. You get teams like Cleveland or the Giants who have so many holes. They couldn't possibly fill all those gaps. Jacksonville was able to, and so I think they definitely deserve. Obviously, we'll see how it plays out in the draft, but in theory, this is supposed to make it easier for them.
Ian Valentino, the 33rd team at A to Z Sports, covering the NFL draft with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, the Jaguars have the 5th pick. Before we talk about that, Ian, let's talk about what's going to transpire before that. Are you of the opinion now, basically a month out from the draft, that Cam Ward is going to go number 1?
Yeah, I think that's where we're heading, right? Like, I don't think that anything would really upset that. Maybe, unless if you get something kind of disastrous here, but it seems like they've locked in on him. Everyone's kind of gotten into lockstep with that messaging. So, again, barring anything off the field that we don't expect, or what was it, like the 2017 or 18 draft where it was Josh Allen that was going to go number 1, or Sam Darnold, then all of a sudden it's Baker Mayfield like 2 days before we figured it out. I don't really expect that at this point.
Now, with that being said, if Cam Ward goes number 1, I guess the big question here in Jacksonville is what then could Cleveland or potentially New York do in relation to Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that Cleveland's going to pass on a quarterback with Shedeur Sanders there. I just, even if they were to go get Russell Wilson, someone like that, they've talked about all offseason long. They want to take multiple stabs at quarterback this offseason. That doesn't mean Kenny Pickett. I don't think Kenny Pickett is really a big factor into that room there. So I think Cleveland will take Shedeur. It's kind of strange for me to hear people justify, the Giants really need a quarterback, so they'll take Shedeur, but Cleveland won't. Like, I don't think that's how that works. When you need a quarterback, you're going to take who you like there at number 2. And then I think that leaves the Giants in a very odd position. Do they reach on a guy at like Jackson Dart at number 3, or do they plan on moving up for him, or are they happy with someone on day 2? That part gets really fascinating, and I think the draft probably really starts at number 3 overall. They may just be happy to take Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter and just say, okay, we'll figure out quarterback here very quickly, but what do you do in that sense? Because they've got to win right now. So I think they're in the toughest spot of this draft class.
That would be a phenomenal situation for Jacksonville if Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders went 1-2. That would mean Jacksonville at 5 would then be guaranteed either Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, or Abdul Carter. So let's play that scenario out. If it were you, and based on what you're hearing, if the Giants are at 3 and both quarterbacks are off the board, what do you think New York would do?
I think they go Hunter in that situation. I think Carter is, their ability to kind of manage and project what they want to do at defensive end in future years is going to be key there, because they've got Kayvon Thibodeau. Do they want to give him a lot of money long term and continue paying that? Do they want, they have Brian Burns too, getting a big salary? Is that a deal that maybe they, you don't have to replace one of those guys this year or next year. You can have 3 stellar pass rushers. There's nothing wrong with that. But after like that year 2, you're going to start wanting to have a plan and replace one of those guys, because you can't play all of them at all the same time. So to me, the easier fit is just saying, hey, let's just get Travis Hunter, whether we like him at corner or wide receiver. We can put him with Malik Neighbors on offense if we want. Whatever quarterback we have, whether it's Kirk Cousins or I know they have Jameis Winston. I'm not necessarily sold that they're going to enter the season with him as the starter. Maybe it works out with Aaron Rodgers. Like, I could see them still having 2 veteran quarterbacks. I don't think they would say no to another veteran. So I think for them, it's a little bit easier to go offense there because that team has to win. And it's a strange spot. If you had 5 guaranteed years to build, I'd probably say you go with Carter and you just bank on the better, more valuable position. But for a team that's really far away from winning, they almost need to plug a hole with a guy that they have a bigger need at. So they're in a strange spot, but I'll go Hunter there.
Couple of more for Ian Valentino, the 33rd team at A to Z Sports.com. New England sits right above Jacksonville, Ian, and they're in an interesting situation as well, because they're all over the board in these mocks. You can see D-line go there. You can see Travis Hunter go there. But the closer we get to the draft, I see more and more mocks that maybe have them go on offensive line to protect Drake May. What do you think Vrabel and the Patriots are thinking?
I think they go best available player. So for me, that's going to be Carter or Hunter. Obviously, things get very weird if Cleveland passes on Sanders and the Giants were to pass on Sanders. Like then all of a sudden this gets very chaotic. I don't see that happening, but I would lean towards, my gut feeling would be that they take Carter. They just need a defensive star. I do think offensive line should be considered there, but I don't think these offensive linemen are better prospects than either Hunter or Carter. And ultimately, that's where Vrabel's going to push. He just needs talent on the roster.
And if it plays out in that scenario, then Mason Graham is sitting right there at 5 for Jacksonville. And based on the fact that they signed 10 outside free agents and not one of them was on the defensive line, I mean, they're sprinting to that podium, right? If Mason Graham is there at number 5?
Yeah, I think so. His combine maybe wasn't the best as far as measurables, but I don't know that a lot of people expected him to go there and be Aaron Donald. Like he checked boxes. Like we knew certain things about him. We knew he didn't have the longest arms. He showed up and lost some water weight after the season. That's not a huge deal. The film is what it is, and he's the best defensive tackle prospect in a great defensive tackle class. Like I think that's one of those. He's a high floor player. He fits the culture. He's a winner. He's a tough kid. I don't think that that's one you want to overthink, because if you start overthinking it and you look at the other options, I don't think there's another option there that really excites you too much to be able to turn him down. And sometimes it's almost nice if you're not given an alternative, you don't have to overthink it. And if you're sitting there and if you have to, decide, well, if it's Carter or if it's Hunter or if it's Mason Graham, well, that just throws your whole plan off entering the draft. It's a good problem to have. And you might want to reconsider those guys and be prepared for that situation. But I don't think they're going to have to, and I think it'll benefit them to not have to make that choice.
If for some reason, and look, both guys are probably going to be there, whether it's Will Campbell from LSU, Armand Membo from Missouri. We know what the Jaguars did in free agency on the offensive line. They added 4 guys. Patrick McCarry probably is going to start, Robert Hainsey as well, but clearly O-line still might be an issue. Would you even consider Membo or Will Campbell above, say, a Mason Graham in that scenario?
Yeah, I think you have to at least think about it, especially if you're looking at like Membo, because for me, he kind of fits what they did with Travon Walker, where they banked on the athleticism, they looked at the traits, and we can argue the results a little bit, but Walker's turned into a nice player and continuing to get better. And I think with Membo, you're going to say the same thing. You kick him inside the guard, I think you'd be a phenomenal guard. And there's a massive hole there, and you're going all in on the offense. I think that that's an okay strategy. And you're coming back to, we're not going to get Mason Graham in the second round. But the defensive tackle class is 3 to 4 rounds deep. This is the best defensive tackle class that we've seen in some time. Outside of running back, it's probably the best positional group in the entire draft class. So do you want to take DT1 when you could probably get a pretty solid guy in round 2 that's going to start for you early? It's a little bit more of a risk, sure, but you're also getting a high-level guard, or if you eventually want to move Membo out to tackle, depending on what your long-term plan is there, do you want to get the best tackle offensive lineman on an offense that desperately needs a little bit more juice, and you can't replicate what happened last year? And there's at least a level of thinking there that I think it makes sense and you can justify it. I don't think it'd be a disastrous situation. It's not like you'd be reaching and passing on a guy, maybe to a lesser position of need, when you can't walk away from the 25, like the storyline of the 2025 season cannot be that Trevor Lawrence didn't have enough around him. I think that's as much on the line as you can have, because you can't have the same questions next offseason that you have this offseason. So I will say, if you can justify that, Mason Graham's just that much better than everyone else, okay, then that's fair. You just have to make sure you hit the offense hard in later rounds.
Final moments, Ian Valentino, the 33rd team, and A2ZSports.com, covering the NFL draft with us here on 1010XL. Ian, as we begin to wrap up, say Mason Graham goes in the top 4, say he goes to New England at number 4. Would there be another defensive tackle, whether it's his teammate Grant or anybody else, that would be worthy of the 5th overall pick on the interior D-line?
It would be a little bit of a surprise, but I don't think I would walk away from this draft feeling that bad if Jacksonville took Grant at 5. I think he would be the guy. Now, I don't think it's ideal because it'd be painful because you're probably in that situation passing on either Carter or Hunter, but maybe it's Shedeur Sanders who keeps falling. And, maybe it's, like you said, at 4, it's Graham. So, I think Grant, ideally what people are going to say is, well, you need to trade down for him. But the problem is who's going to trade up. You can't just find teams that are willing to trade up. You might find someone that's willing to move up for Shedeur. But Grant is like one of those talents that's like almost like a Jalen Carter. So look at what Jalen Carter did for Philadelphia, how he was the face of that defense. He's not quite that level of a pass rusher, but he's a 330-plus pound body who moves extremely well. He's a threat on all 3 downs. He can be a nose tackle, can be a tackle, like a regular 4-3 tackle. You can move him all around. He is that athletic. So I think you could justify it. I've heard Jacksonville likes him. Do they like him more than Graham? Maybe not. But I think they like him enough, and I would definitely be okay with that. Because, again, you're looking for, like, the mindset and, like, the identity of the defense. That's someone that can draw 2 defenders and hopefully free up those edge rushers. If both those edge rushers take another jump next year or continue to play at a high level next year, it makes everything else so much easier for the rest of the unit. So, yeah, that's it, though. Like, outside of those 2 guys, I think you're basically waiting till the end of the first round, second round type of range, because everyone else seems to get a little bit crowded in that mix, whereas I think it's definitely, for me, the top 2 defensive tackles are definitely the Michigan guys.
Ian, we got 90 seconds. Final question. The only other guy that's been mentioned here, and I think 5 would be too high, you'd probably have to trade back, is Ted McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, and he's all over the board based on people I've talked to. What's your opinion on him?
Yeah, I tend to think we're in the media probably a little bit higher on him than the NFL. I like him. He's got great size. He's great after the catch. He's almost like BTJ, but like inversed in a way, because where BTJ is great at the catch point, he uses all that length. McMillan's almost more of like a finesse big receiver after the catch. And so you're going to use him almost more like a smaller receiver, but he's really good and he's very unique because of that. And I think he's got great potential. I like him a lot as a potential Pro Bowler. I think, T. Higgins is probably a thinner T. Higgins is probably like a decent comp for him. I like him. I'm with you. I wouldn't hate taking him at 5, but I think you probably would be looking to trade down probably into the teens. I think he could be picked anywhere from maybe 12 to 20, and that might surprise some people.
Ian, we could do this for another hour, man. Absolutely terrific stuff. Tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, the 33rd team, A to Z Sports, where they can find your work.
Yep, so I'm over on Twitter at NFL Draft Study, and always happy to join and chat about some ball.
At NFL Draft Study on social media, Ian Valentino. Ian, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll do it again soon.
My pleasure.
This organization, do you know what it's called?
Its name is
1010XL. Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
The 2025 NFL season is right around the corner, and the Jags are building something special. A fresh team, a new culture, and a stadium that's going to change the game. Be there to witness head coach Liam Cohen and the rest of the coaching crew in action and secure your place in line for the stadium of the future with your 2025 season ticket membership. Visit Jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We can't wait to see you at the bank this fall.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
Young Lives is a nonprofit helping teen moms flourish in their communities with the help of support and love. Join Young Lives at Topgolf Sunday, March 30th from 2 to 5 for their community fundraiser. Sponsor or learn more at jacksmetroyounglives.younglife.org.
Go fishing for your share of more than $40,000 in cash and prizes at the Wolfson Children's Hospital Bass Tournament. Register by May 13th.
You can help Micah's Place support domestic violence victims by playing in the Par for a Purpose golf tournament
June 20th at the stunning Golf Club of Amelia Island. Register at micahsplace.org/golf.
Her Song is a nonprofit organization that breaks the cycle of human trafficking through survivor care, victim outreach, and education. Find out how you can help at hersong.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010xl.com.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and there's so many cool products that are on the line at Cycles of Jacksonville. Showroom is Atlantic and Regency, and we're talking, Greg, you've got from any level of price point, the experienced rider to the inexperienced on-road, off-road.
We've got it. We've got ATVs, we've got motorcycles, we've got scooters, we even have the new Honda boats. We've got something for everyone.
Don't forget about the boat line from Honda. It's all right there, waiting for you. Atlantic and Regency, or Cycles of Jacksonville's Facebook page.
1010XL's running game takes a giant step forward.
Well, Fred Taylor is the whole package.
Fred Taylor joins Dan and Jeff on the drill. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins and Monahan Jewelers.
Pick it here for Bound 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bound 9. Visit Bound 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bound 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Youth sports at the YMCA's focus on teamwork, discipline, and building confidence. Our experienced coaches can create a positive and supportive environment where your kids can grow, stay active, and develop a love for sports. Sports like basketball, volleyball, swimming, gymnastics, and even elite skills training. Join the fun and register. Give your kids a chance to be a part of something special. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
Your hole-in-one for men's health is Ackerman Urology. With offices in Mandarin, Middleburg, Rural Golf Village, and the beaches, Ackerman will get you on par for any prostate conditions and sexual vitality. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
At Performance Painting, we've spent decades protecting commercial properties with durable, long-lasting coatings. And we can bring the same expertise when painting the exterior of your home. With industry-leading materials and a proven process, we extend the life of your home, reducing maintenance costs and preserving its value. Now, for a limited time, save $500 when you hire us to paint your home's exterior. Just mention 1010XL. Go to performancepainting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
This is Hayes Carline for Physician Guided Weight Loss. I'm down over 25 pounds already this year, and I feel great with no side effects, all thanks to their amazing technology, fast setup, friendly staff, and their proven results. Plus, a firm pricing structure means there are no rising costs as you go. If you're ready for a leaner body ahead of the warmer weather coming, call my friends at Physician Guided Weight Loss at 257-4344. That's 257-4344, Physician Guided Weight Loss.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back into the Sweet 16 talk. Florida and Maryland tomorrow night. You'll hear it right here on 1010 a.m. That comes up in less than 10 minutes. Quickly, opening day, Major League Baseball tomorrow. Denmark, this is the third year you and I will have baseball season together. This is the third year I will give it a try to follow the Rays as long as humanly possible. I give this speech every night before opening day. Can the Rays keep me interested until training camp? That is the question. They did that 2 years ago. Not so much last year. Now, I know you are a Braves fan. You're much more of a baseball fan than I am. But again, my needs are small. Can Tampa Bay playing at Steinbrenner Field keep me interested until training camp opens in late July?
Yes, because you're very emotional and you watch. If someone is your team, you watch them every second. So the
I
answer
do.
is yes.
I do, and I'll go all in. I'll learn the Rays roster in the next 24 hours, and I'll start diving in. I'll really start picking them up after the Magic season ends, which will be when they get swept by Boston or Cleveland. But I'll give it a try again. Now, quickly, you being a Braves fan, you're fired up, correct?
Not really.
Not, I thought you were. No, you
I'm a Braves
told me
fan.
who they're playing and what time they're playing tomorrow.
I know they're playing tomorrow. I know they're playing Tampa the weekend of the 12th and 13th of April. I might go down for that. But yeah, I mean, I'm a casual Braves fan. I like listening to the radio on my way in or when I'm leaving here. But to say I'm excited is not the adjective. I'm kind of all in on the Gators tomorrow.
Well, that's true. That's true. We got bigger fish to fry than opening day. But if you are a baseball person, happy opening day tomorrow to all those who abide. Coming up next, my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Let's talk Florida, Maryland. Let's talk Sweet 16 and more. And let's do it with Brent Beard next. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Meet 1010XL's Afternoon Warrior.
Full transparency, I've never done battle.
Hayes Carlisle.
I've just pushed some people and run away.
Weekdays on The Frenchie Show.
This is man's best hook.
On 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Jacksonville's summer heat is coming in fast. Is your AC ready to handle it? Or will it quit on you on the hottest day of the year, leaving you sweating and stuck with a huge repair bill? Duck Air Conditioning is here to save the day with a free AC system inspection. Our expert techs will make recommendations to ensure your AC system is running in tip-top shape before the heat arrives. Call now, 904-862-6769. Duck Air Conditioning, duckac.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
St. Johns County parents, does your kid have energy to burn? Want them to play a sport for their middle school? Sign up today for the St. Johns Middle School Athletic Association. Spring pickleball, tackle football, dance, and cheerleading. Who doesn't want their kid to be the next NFL quarterback or dance floor diva? Hurry, time is running out. March is almost over. You know how fast your kid can go from playing Xbox to practicing their touchdown dance or sideline cheer? Sign up at sjmsaa.org. sjmsaa.org.
Tired of supermarket produce that's traveled thousands of miles before you get it? Treat your family to farm-fresh, Florida-grown fruits and veggies delivered right to your home with Doorbell Farms. No supply chain issues or questionable origins, just seasonal produce hand-picked from local farmers. Subscribe monthly and enjoy the best local farm produce delivered right to you. Sign up now at doorbellfarms.com, connecting real people to real family farms. Doorbellfarms.com.
When no names become household names. Listen for March moments all month long on 1010XL. Driven by Garber Auto Mall. We can wiggle it.
Spring and summer are coming. Will your pool deck be ready? Don't Slip Deck Coatings of Jacksonville has you covered. Their multi-layered slip-resistant coatings come in a variety of colors, adding safety, durability, and style to your outdoor spaces. Plus, they offer slip-resistant solutions for inside your home, too. Long-lasting, affordable, and built to protect your family. Don't wait. Call today for a free quote, 904-466-1839, and follow Don't Slip Jacks on Facebook and Instagram.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Are you ready to reclaim your backyard? Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, Surfside Pools is the trusted name for expert pool design. Family owned and operated, they offer pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools transform your backyard into the oasis that you crave. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, where luxury meets leisure.
License number CPC 044080.
Greenlaw Group is for the insured. If you think you have roof damage, call 904-302-7055 today, and they will schedule you a free roof inspection. Trust their law firm to help you fight your insurance when you need it. These storms can cause damage you may not even see yet. Call Greenlaw Group 302-7055. There's no cost to retain their law firm and no cost to have your roof inspected. They only get paid if you win. Greenlaw Group, for the insured.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round 1 of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A.
Hey folks, Nick in here for Zero Res. You're going to want to beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get one room Zero Resified starting at $53. Hey, and take $100 off your air duct cleaning. Don't forget about your air ducts. Your air ducts sort of like the lungs of your home. If they're dirty, your indoor air quality suffers. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com. Tell them Dan or 1010XL sent you. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We have gone from 68 to the Sweet 16, and 7 of those 16 reside in the Southeastern Conference. That is a record for one conference in a given Sweet 16 since the tournament expanded back in 1975. Certainly Florida is in that mix. They play Maryland Thursday night. Let's talk about the Gators and the remaining teams of the SEC that are still battling for the NCAA tournament crown with my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. And Brent, congratulations, my friend, on a brand new grandbaby to the family.
We have 2 in the family now. We've got one that is 10 years old, one that is just come out to the world last week, so we're quite happy about that, and everybody's doing well. So we are grateful, certainly enjoying the tournament. And oh, by the way, the national media was telling us, Hank, last Friday that the SEC is dead, and they will have no teams to go forward during that time. So. It's always a fun thing when the national media are wrong.
You know, it's funny you brought that up, and I promise we didn't talk about this before we started here, but I was going to ask you that right off the top. There was a lot of people talking about overrated this and the SEC that on Friday when the 8-6 in the first round. Yet, Brent, that was awfully quiet in round 2 when the SEC went 7-1 and now has set a record for one conference, putting 7 teams in the Sweet 16.
And by the way, the big narrative last week was how great the Big Ten is. They were 10-0 at one point. Right now they're 12-4, and the SEC is a robust 15-7. So 15 wins for the SEC so far. So that is quite the feat. Well, this is what Greg Sankey and even previous commissioners really had in mind for the SEC was build better arenas, get better players, get better coaches, and it really has come to fruition, hasn't it, with 7 teams left, and frankly probably could have had another one or two, particularly if, say, Texas A&M, who was ahead by 10 points, could have held on.
You know, Brent, the one of the narratives prior to the Sweet 16 beginning Thursday night is the lack of Cinderella in the NCAA tournament. You've covered college athletics for a long time, and I think it's the world we're in now in NIL. I mean, it's really the first time in a while that at least one mid-major did not make the Sweet 16. There's only one double-digit seed in the Sweet 16, and John Calipari is their coach of Arkansas. They're not exactly a Cinderella. Do you think we've kind of seen the end of that because of NIL, and is that good or bad for the sport?
Well, I think the sport's strong enough to where it will survive it. And what Hank is talking about for our listeners and viewers is since '85, when they went to 64, there has never been a Sweet 16 to not see at least one non-major conference team. I think that would change, and I think they will be okay. But here's what makes this even probably harder, though, for the non-major conferences. Why in the world do we have the transfer portal open on the Monday after the Sweet 16 is finalized?
Mm-hmm.
Heck, what kind of new level of stupid is that you would have the transfer portal open while the tournament is still going on? If the tournament is your bell cow and it's the shiniest thing you've got in the jewelry box, why would you have anything else that is somewhat competing with it as people are, instead of just focusing totally on the tournament, they've got their mind, and a lot of these schools obviously are dealing with the transfer portal. Hank, does that make any sense at all?
No, I talked about this last night, and I completely agree with you. And it's the same way in football, but at least in football, I get it based on the calendar. You got to open the portal because of semesters and classes that fill up in mid-December going into the January, new semester. So that's at least an excuse that football can use as to why the portal's open during the playoff. In basketball, maybe I'm missing something, but based on the calendar being March or April, I don't know why you couldn't just wait 2 weeks. It has to do something, I guess, with class schedules, but I don't know why that is the case.
Agree totally, and that is something that's got to be changed. And look, even though it's with the calendar with spring football, I mean, basically the calendar for portal opens right after the majority of the spring games. So why do you? I guess my point for both basketball and football, why do you do that to yourself and cause yourself more trouble when you can easily get or maybe not easily, but you can get a better handle on the calendar?
You see Brent Beard on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, the Florida Gators in the last decade lose that UConn game on Sunday 99% of the time.
Yes.
Things were not going their way. Loose balls were going UConn's way. Florida's not making their free throws. UConn basically hit every free throw they took, it seemed, in the second half. And then Walter Clayton, Will Richard, and Elijah Martin in the final 3 minutes just simply decided Florida was not going to lose. I think surviving a game like that is huge for this team moving forward.
Well, it's a will to win, and that's exactly what they got during that time, too. There were a lot of interesting things here. And look, I give UConn a lot of credit. They played really well during that time too. But the Gators had 12 turnovers, less than 40% shooting, which is unusual for them, but it's a real credit to UConn. I thought maybe the stat of that game, with those 12 turnovers compared to UConn's 6, UConn only scored 4 points, get this, on 12 Florida turnovers. Florida actually had 10 points off UConn's 6 turnovers. Heck, that was a humongous difference in that ball game.
No, it was. There's no doubt. And look, I think Florida probably feels pretty good to be in the Sweet 16 because I think most people would tell you UConn probably outplayed them for a majority of that game. Maryland, Florida's opponent on Thursday, the same thing, Brent. I mean, their season's over before their freshman Derek Queen hits a buzzer beater to knock out Colorado State. And both teams now have to travel thousands of miles away. Could you get 2 more East Coast teams that have to go to San Francisco than Maryland and Florida? And it's a quick turnaround for both. Both teams played Sunday afternoon / Sunday evening. They got to fly to the West Coast and now play Thursday. What's your early thought on Florida and Maryland?
Number one, I really don't get the timetable. I mean, why? Look, they've got all year to be able to figure this schedule and who goes where. Why in the world do you basically penalize your Sunday teams by making them play on Thursday? That really makes no sense at all, frankly. But at the same time, I think this was the game in the tournament with UConn that Florida probably needed. I'm not saying they weren't focused, but it certainly got them refocused during this time, too. I still think Florida is a better team than Maryland. I mean, give them a lot of credit for what they have done with this season. But I tell me if you do, but I can't see Florida playing as inconsistently as they did 2 games in a row. Can you?
I cannot. And here's your stat about Maryland. And again, admittedly, I haven't watched a lot of them. I certainly know about Derek Queen. He's a beast as a freshman.
Oh, yeah.
Maryland's starting 5 is very good. They scored 72 points on Sunday in that win over Colorado State. Brent, do you realize the starters for Maryland scored 70 of those 72?
Yeah, that's really impressive.
But what the problem there lies, though, the bench is non-existent. They have no depth on that team.
Yeah, and look, Florida has a tendency with their depth with the bigs that they can foul a lot of guys out. So you're right, Derek Queen and Julian Reese missed just 7 of the 19 shots that they shot. Look, and there's a lot said about Queen, and people haven't seen it, and then go back and watch. Queen had he was a fabulous play. He made a bank shot to win the game. Now, did he travel? He probably did.
Oh, he absolutely traveled, but the refs will never call it in that situation.
Oh, no, that was my point. I know players want to try to do this, but at the end of the game, the officials do not want to be the deciding factor, so they let them play on, and Queen took advantage of that.
Brent, we have an all-SEC Sweet 16 game with Kentucky and Tennessee, and the fascinating thing here, Kentucky has already beat Tennessee twice in the regular season. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. That should be a really interesting game between the Volunteers and the Wildcats.
Thankfully, we waited until this point in the tournament before we had 2 SEC teams playing each other. Now, if Vanderbilt had beaten St. Mary's, Alabama and Vanderbilt would have played over the weekend.
Same thing with Oklahoma and UConn if Oklahoma would have won.
Yeah, so the good thing is, frankly, it's been delayed to that point. I still go back to Tennessee plays better defense than Kentucky, even though Kentucky's beaten them twice. Now, Obviously, Kentucky is look, and I give them a lot of credit for what they have done. That they've really resurrected themselves. Not as much as Arkansas, but I still say in a game like this, your defense is going to win. That's what Tennessee's able to do at this point too. So I will go with the Vols, but I'm quite grateful to now we've only had one SEC game with similar opponents.
Final moments with Brent Beard. Oh, you certainly have Ole Miss, Michigan State. You also have Arkansas and Texas Tech. And then your home state, Brent, well represented in the Sweet 16, Auburn, Michigan, and Alabama, BYU. A lot of people think that Alabama-BYU game could be a sprint to 100.
It really could, because, frankly, BYU plays no defense at all, but they can score more than the NBA team on some nights. And Bama's kind of getting things back together, too. They played better defense against St. Mary's. Now, if Alabama wins, they'll play Duke in a much-anticipated game. But, look, they can't take anything for granted at this point either. And heck, real quick, I mentioned Arkansas a minute ago. Man alive, what a coaching by Calipari. They've really only got 8 players who are playing in any game, and they've really gotten on the right side of the ship and are really playing well right now.
And look, not to begrudge St. John's, but watching them, they would have been awful in the SEC this year. All right, I get they're a New York team and Spike Lee and the Garden, and they're a great story, and Rick Pitino and all that. Arkansas whipped them on the boards, and Arkansas is average as the day is long in the SEC. St. John's would have been below average as an SEC team this year. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, I give Pitino a lot of credit, and that's been a great story in the whole 9 yards. But, and look, the thing that Cal did to me is impressive as anything. Boogie Fland, who was injured for a lot of the season, and they were playing well without him, comes back in, and it's, I wouldn't say it's been seamless, but it's been close how well they played with him back in the lineup. All right, Brent, we'll obviously get back into our bread and butter, which is football, coming up in a week or so, but when you have 7 SEC teams in the Sweet 16, certainly that deserved a lot of our attention. How many of the 7 are going to San Antonio? How many SEC teams, in your opinion, go to the Final Four?
I think probably at least a couple of them do. I think Florida does. I still think Florida wins the whole thing. And then probably either Auburn or Tennessee. I think 2 of them will. If Bama was really motivating to beat Duke, it would not shock me for them to get back either. But on the other hand, heck, it won't surprise me if Michigan State beats Auburn. Michigan State is really playing well. And look, do not overlook this Houston team, the job that Kelvin Sampson has done with them. And they are, they guard you when you get off the bus at Houston, and they're tough and they're physical. But at the same time, look, I'd love to see, being an SEC guy, to have 4 of them in the Final Four, but I do think that 2 of them is realistic.
Oh, I think absolutely 2 is realistic. I think probably anything less than 2 might be a disappointment at this point. And I'll tell you, the Michigan State-Ole Miss game, I agree with you. Michigan State's very good. This Ole Miss team beat Iowa State to death. And they also put a number on North Carolina. This Ole Miss team's got a lot of confidence. That's going to be a really, really interesting game coming up here in a couple of nights. It's always a good time with Brent Beard. You see him on First Coast News. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, you and I have been doing this over 22 years, and I don't think we've ever done a full segment on college basketball, but that's where the SEC is now, being the best conference in America. I kind of enjoyed it, man. I think, look, this could be something that we'll do every March, because I don't think the SEC is going anywhere.
No, they're really not. These coaches are so good. You mentioned Ole Miss a minute ago. Chris Beard is a great example of that. He's a defensive savant, frankly, and you're right. They just absolutely were devastating the other night against Iowa State. I know they've got some injuries, but still Ole Miss was great. And look, Hank, in my opinion, as much of a football guy as I am, this time of year, the tournament deserves its due, does it not? And it's always fun to talk basketball, especially when the league's playing as well as they are.
Brent, enjoy the Sweet 16. Enjoy the Elite Eight. We'll be here next week to preview the Final Four.
Good. Look forward to it, pal. Take care.
And thank you to my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. I think the SEC deserved that segment right there. 7 teams in the Sweet 16. Again, I've been doing radio with Brent, 3 different radio stations over 20-plus years. I'm not sure if we've ever done 15 minutes straight on basketball, but that's kind of the changing of the guard in the conference now when the SEC sets a record for the number of teams that one conference has put into a given Sweet 16. It gets underway tomorrow. Of course, Florida and Maryland. You'll hear the game right here on 10:10 a.m., a 7:39, I believe, scheduled opening tip. We will be on here on Hacker After Dark on 92.5 FM, kind of following along in real time, which will certainly be interesting as Florida, their first trip to the Sweet 16 in 8 years, only their 12th trip to the Sweet 16 dating back to 1987. I think some people maybe think, including myself, that Florida might have gotten there more regularly than that, but no, this is only the 12th time the Gator basketball team has been in the Sweet 16 dating back to 87, so the 12th time in 38 years, again, their first time in 8 seasons. So we certainly spent a lot of time on that, spent some time on the Jaguars and the draft tonight as well, as we are inside of a month away from the NFL draft. Will it be Travis Hunter? Will it be Mason Graham? Could potentially Abdul Carter find his way to number 5? It all is going to come down to how many quarterbacks go in the top 4. I think it's a pretty much a given now that Cam Ward is going to go in the top 4. The big question, does Shedeur Sanders go in the top 4? And if he does, that means it's a guarantee that either Carter, Graham, or Hunter will be there for the Jaguars with the number 5 overall selection. Well, that will just about do it. It has been a very, very busy Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Thank you to Ian Valentino of the 33rd Team and A to Z Sports.com. Ian just put out a brand new 7-round mock draft, one that I think the Jaguar fan base would be very happy with. So we certainly appreciate Ian taking time out for us to talk draft and primarily focusing on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then back in hour number 1, Blake Lovell, the Southeastern 16 podcast, as again, we did a deep dive not only into Florida, but into Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky, all 7 of the SEC teams left standing as the Sweet 16 gets underway tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, we will again be with you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on 92.5 FM. You'll hear Florida, Maryland on 10:10 a.m., so we'll be able to follow along in real time with the Gators and the Terrapins, and we do hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Wednesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Wednesday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night on a Thursday beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Jaguars and Gators.